Hi, today we're talking about why complex PTSD recovery feels so hard and what you can do about it to make it easier. And so I want to talk about this because this is a real thing. We have a lot of work to do with healing complex PTSD, and sometimes it can feel like hard work. And so I want to talk about that, what to do about it. Um, I want to commiserate with you a little bit because real talk, it's a lot of work. There's a lot to do. And I want you to I want you to feel good about that work, okay? Because we can. And anyway, I'm Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist and an emotional wellness coach, and I specialize in helping people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And I also specialize in complex PTSD recovery. And the brain has a beautiful process for resolving all of this, and that process gets stopped and blocked. And so then it's not working, and then all these symptoms are backing up, and then we have to make behavior changes to accommodate them. We have to avoid people, places, things. A whole lot goes into this when this one brain process is not functioning well. And so all of my what I specialize in doing is helping that brain process get unblocked, unstopped, and moving at optimal speeds. And so there's a different part of the brain that's responsible for closing this down than we traditionally work with in talk therapy. And so the interventions I encourage people to use and that I share, my three favorite ones of those in my free program, Interventions for Inner World Transformation. I teach these three ones in here. I hand them over. There are more. There are so many more. But these are my three favorite ones, and they're very different. These interventions are look weird, feel weird, and you're just like, why do I have to do this? I should make a whole video on that. But regardless, I do have videos about it, but I don't have one devoted to why do I have to do this. So I might have to make a video on that. But if there's brain work that happens when we support a different part of the brain, it helps the whole brain work together and complete the healing work that needs to happen. And so, and that same part of the brain shuts that healing process down. And so in my work, that's that part of the brain's VIP, and symptoms resolve. So, but and that's what I have people do is work that process, get that brain process open so that your brain can resolve these issues for you, not you have to try to figure out how to resolve them for your brain. That's not our design. That's why we're not getting great results with healing complex PTSD. We really want to lead with supporting the brain to do what brains are supposed to be doing. So there we go. But let's talk about why healing complex PTSD feels so hard. And so let's talk about what has to happen here, because I might overwhelm you with this, but you're already overwhelmed if you're here watching this video. Um, so, and there's light at the end of this tunnel, but it's real. You're not feeling overwhelmed for no reason. When we're healing from complex PTSD, we're healing from multiple issues of abuse in childhood, throughout our life, neglect. Gosh, this neglect piece is difficult because there's always a debate which is harder, abuse or neglect, and neglect frequently wins because you grow up not even knowing what you're missing, so you're not even looking for it, and then when you're offered it, you're like, and you pass it by because your system doesn't know that it needs something. So you actually have to build in something that feels invisible, and unnecessary. And why do I even need this? And then the healthy population that already has it is like, ooh, you don't have that, right? And that's a whole thing to deal with. But you have to build that in. You have to resolve all these symptoms. You have to activate and build new neural pathways. You have to be able to turn on and rebuild your healthy boundaries. You have to build the neurology for participating in healthy relationships. That stuff is weird to those of us who were raised with unhealthy relationships. All of a sudden, we're being seen, and we're like, our neurology is like, I'm not wired for this. You're making me do things I'm not wired for. So we end up staying away from them and seeking out more of the same kind of toxic that is familiar to us. We have to change the neurology involved with that. That's actual physical, chemical work, right? That's actual emotional work. That's actual subconscious programming work. We have to start building healthy boundaries. What are even those? You have to figure those out, and we have to build those and wire them in and sink them into the subconscious programming. We have to build healthy communication skills. If you were raised with stonewalling or screaming, you weren't raised with how to have conversation, have healthy conflict, and conflict that results in resolutions, not blows or other scary things, right? And so we're building skills. We're building, healing. It's like, don't take things personally. Don't overreact. Don't underreact. Don't flee. Don't dissociate. Don't, and we have to learn how to reprogram all of that. And hey, stay present. With all this new neurology going on, your body is just, and your working memory is fried, because how you're going to remember all this stuff and keep working on it. And there's overstimulation to deal with and overwhelm. I got my list here. I went off. I was like, and then the working memory challenges is ultimately there's only going to be so much you can work on anyway, because once you put something else on there, everything else falls off to make room for it. And it can feel like a lot of hard work. And you got to regulate yourself. And you have to care for yourself. Gosh, that's really the one I want to talk about the most here. That's hard. That feels like hard work. This is where my clients whine the most. And I welcome whining. It's great brain work. I have a video about that. 4 bad habits that are actually good brain work, and whining is one of them. And so they'll just be like, "This is so hard. I have to care for myself again." I know, right? In a childhood where you really weren't cared for or seen, now you have to do that. You have to build that from scratch. And you have to build not only the maturity to do it, you have to build the endurance and the patience. People take that stuff for granted because your parents actually had the patience. Your parents actually had the endurance. Their parents actually had the maturation, and not you. And so they helped you build yours while they held all the patience and the maturation, maturity, and all these things. Many of us with complex PTSD didn't have that. So we actually have to build it in an adult timeline, when it should have been built when we were before 7. And we have to also hold all the patience, hold all the maturity. We have to be an adult and a child, and at the same time, right? So, and then there's choosing, making decisions for yourself. That has to come online. You have to be active and assertive, not passive or aggressive or manipulative. We have to rewire all of that. And then also have you be present for it. That's a lot. So, is this a lot of work? Yes, absolutely. It really is. Does it feel like a lot of work? Sometimes it does. Sometimes we get fatigued and we get exhausted and we just don't want to take care of ourselves. Not one more time. We don't want to have to regulate our nervous system. Not one more time. Wash our hair one more time. We just don't. And actually, that's a really healthy part of the journey. That running out of maturity, running out of patience, running out of endurance. When you run out of something and your processor is running, if your processor is shut down, you're not getting any benefits from this. But if your processor is running while you've run out of maturity, you've run out of patience, you've run out of endurance, the upper parts of the brain are reading that data, and they're like, "Oh, we ran out. And we need more. We don't have enough for this." They get too busy and they start building it in. This is how you grow in endurance, by running out of it and your brain hearing all about it. So these are really healthy moments in healing complex PTSD. These are important. This is when the brain gets to get the feedback from the body that we don't have enough of this stuff. What are you going to do about it? Great. And it a lot of times in the beginning, because we're working on maturity, it comes in whining. Whine. Be where you are right now. And if you're at whining, great, because it's just your brain needs to finish what it's doing. It needs that data. I don't care what form it comes into. Just make sure your processor is processing. And we do that by helping that one part of the brain I was talking about, the survival system. We use specific interventions to send it safety signaling so it'll stand to the side and let healing happen. Right? And so So these are important moments. We're going to use a lot of interventions when these come up. And because we're using interventions, these reports from the body are going to happen faster. They're not going to hang around for years and months. That's not what we're doing. That's not an okay timeline. We want everybody to come up here, whine, maybe a day, maybe 2 days, maybe an hour. We want, and it'll get smaller and smaller. I'm going to sneeze, I think. Hold on. Okay, I did. Okay, but these whining things, the more mature they get, the less often they'll show up. The more processing they get, the less often they'll show up. The faster they'll process, because you're actually wiring your brain to get good at processing those reports. You'll get better at your mind body connection. The body sends the information, the feedback back, and the brain responds. That's what we want. And then the brain builds more programming and it goes back into the body, and the body grows. I say it like that. I say the body grows. I don't know that that's exactly the best word for it, but I want it. This is what we're doing when we do weightlifting. We actually go in there, and the purpose of weightlifting is to build muscle. And so the reps that matter are the ones where you're fatigued, because that's where your mind body system is learning. We don't have enough strength for this. We don't have enough endurance for this. We don't have enough muscle for this. So if you're doing that successfully, not too much, that's traumatizing. That's where we tear muscles. That's where we do harm to the body. Same thing emotionally and mentally. But if we're doing those healthy reps where we're just outside our comfort zone, and we are actually breaking down tissue in our muscles, the mind body system is learning, oh, we need to build. And we're actually pushing the builders inside that start and ignite all the building more muscle, right? And so those are the reps we're working for. Right? In complex healing, complex PTSD, these moments where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do anymore. This is awful. Those are the reps that matter here too. That's where we're going to really support and make sure your processor is open, so that your processor is learning, hey, we need more patience. We need more endurance. Maybe we need more skill. Maybe we need more strategies. Maybe we need more teammates. Maybe we need more and more and more. What do we need more of? That's your brain's job. And then its job is to tell you and go get it. You go get it. That happens pretty seamlessly. So I'm not going to go into that right now. But there is a lot of work. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that my program is designed to help people heal in 2 to 6 months. And by heal, I mean we're doing healing work and we're getting to building. This 2 to 6 months land does not take us out of personal growth and development, right? This is actually, we just want to build the neurology, take out a ton of trauma, and get things working. So that's 120 to 300 hours of specific and targeted brain work. Okay, that's a lot. I have people do the self-regulating work 2 hours a day. And so we can get going. Not everybody stays at that speed. Not everybody even ever hits that speed, because you got to find the right pace for you. But the closer we get to that, the closer we're going to get to the 2 to 6 months mark of massive repair and transforming your life rapidly. And I like to do it like that because life is lifing. And anyway, I made a video about that just Tuesday. So about current trauma, recent trauma, and post-traumatic stress. And so watch that video. You're going to know what I want, all the things I wanted to say right now. You're going to know what I already said. But there is a lot of work, and everything you're doing with your processor open is going to lead to growth. Every little bit matters. Every whining session, every pity party, every exhaustion, every fit that you throw, every time you stomp off and just screw it, I'm not doing one more intervention. All of that is so valuable here. Everything, especially if we're processing, it matters. Your brain needs to hear all about. Your brain is the one who needs to hear all about this. And then it responds by making things better and better. So here are my recommendations for dealing with the fact that you have to take on all this self-care now. You have to, and there's so much resistance to that too, because we understand that at a fundamental level that we should never have to do this, right? It should have been done, and it wasn't. And so here we are. So making this easier is okay. So this is what these are my recommendations for making it easier. Take them, leave them, apply one, 5 years from now, whatever works for you. But I want you to hear what I have to say here. Um, I, there's going to be resistance to this, so my brain is like planning for that. I'm going to say a couple things. I recommend that you do this with a team. Okay. Now, I understand my audience's members that have complex PTSD, and many of us don't trust anyone, and many of us have relationship trauma, and we don't want anyone to touch us, our inner world, and we don't want anyone to see us, and we don't want anybody to even breathe on that stuff. I know for me personally, I would have never seen a therapist. It took me a long time to go to therapy, and I only did because I got these interventions. I got one of these interventions. I started using it, and I'd healed a ton. And so I actually healed so much on my own by myself that I felt safe enough that I could take the risk of having someone look at my inner world and breathe on it and see it. And maybe even if they had some judgment or if they hurt me, I could handle it. That's the work of massive healing. Okay, a lot of tapping I was doing. I had found emotional freedom techniques. So I really wanted a partner in my inner world. Now, I know that many of you may not be feeling like that. Many of you might be wanting a partner. Maybe you're in a different place where you're a little bit more on the anxious side, where you need somebody to. I'm more on the avoidant attachment style, so we'll stay away. Everybody, maybe you're more anxious, and you've already been with therapists, and like you, it's hard to do this work without one. Wherever you're at in this, I want you to consider building a healing team. I don't care who is on your healing team. The fact that you get to have experiences with hopefully healthy people, if they're not, please fire them. Just because you're a professional does not mean you're healthy or healthy enough. Fire people. But I'd like you to build a team of anybody, acupuncturists, massage. I love all the body workers because the body actually has to do so much processing that we want to give it support. So, massage, acupuncture, I mean, your nail tech, I'm here for that. If she's awesome and supportive or just kind or just doesn't disturb the peace, she's on the team. Or he's on the team. Your hairstylist, yes. Your naturopath. We want this to be a team effort. It was supposed to be. And so we want that to be, there's some other tricks I might make a video about where if you're not in a place to have actual people, there's other ways. The brain doesn't understand the difference between reality and imagine, so you can imagine some people. I need to make a video on that so it gets proper respect. But build your team. Okay, number 2. You want to stack benefits. There are, in the exercises that you do and the brain work that you do, there is a lot of work with EMDR where people, there's a lot of trauma processing work in EMDR where we're setting up, we're healing memories. But there's a lot more to complex PTSD than healing memories. There's a ton of building that needs to be done. So we can do some building and healing at the same time, right? So we want to stack those together. We want to do it at the same time. That way, we're doing 2 things with the time of 1. And really, I like to stack 3, 4, and 5 things. And so, and then go. That's why I have my program, Interventions for Inner World Transfer. No, I have another program where interventions, where I teach interventions and strategies for that, and you can resolve so many symptoms like that. And then I have ways of doing specific and targeted work and exercises I've found that my clients can do well independently between sessions, so that we're still healing. We're working in session, they're working at home. We're nonstop brain support for the time that we're working. But those interventions that the exercises and strategies I put together are doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things at the same time, because I know there's a lot of work to do. And so let's just do one. When you're doing this one thing, you're actually going to do 4 or 5. You don't even know you're doing 4 or 5. I know you're doing 4 or 5, and your brain knows that it's doing 4 or 5. Okay, and so there's ways to stack these things. There's ways to be more efficient in your work. And so if you've been doing EMDR where you're just doing memory work, that's great, but there's a lot more going on. Ask for more. Ask for ways to build new things. Um, so I don't know how to advise that any further. And I don't know therapists, what they're all doing over there, so I really can't help you with that. Sorry. But I do know that it's important to stack benefits. Oh, I think that this is also why I've made my program available so that even if you have a therapist that's doing EMDR with you, if you're following my program as well, you're getting the benefit of these EMDR sessions, and you're also working at home. And then you can also, while you're working with him, you're going to see, oh, I could do this, this, and this in the same EMDR session. And you will stack benefits yourself with your EMDR therapist. I'm sorry if there's any EMDR therapists that are horrified by this to know that your clients will be adding brain work on, but it's fabulous. Anyway, and we want our clients to be really self-supportive and creative with their healing work. And so if we give them more tools and strategies, they can be. And so I like to help clients become more advanced and more advanced and more advanced. So we're teaming up. I'm not just continuing to lead every session. So yeah, that was this little breakout session for me and the therapists. But so I think that's the best I can communicate it at this point. So if you want to know more about stacking benefits, my program is really great for that. And I'm going to have to think about how to explain that more. I'm going to put that on the back burner. Okay. My other recommendation is to have fun. And that's a hard one when you're having panic attacks and you're suspicious of everybody and you're afraid and you feel vulnerable and you're hurting. It's a hard thing to do, but there are ways to have fun. And the more you support your brain to heal, the more you realize, oh, it's all working out. Oh, my brain is totally capable with this. Oh, yeah, I'm tripping right now, but watch, my brain will have this resolved in about a week. We'll just have fun until then. And there's lots of great ways to have fun with this. And the more you work, the more fun you have. And the more influence you have over it. But one of the things I do with clients is I have them celebrate their inner world transformations, which in the beginning is hard. They're like, I'm here. And I'm like, I'm winning. I'll take that as a win. I keep showing up, and then they're like, I woke up and I didn't have that heavy feeling in the morning. I had a free question and answer, which I have every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I asked for celebrations, inner world celebrations in the beginning. And one of the women said, I woke up and I didn't have that heavy feeling. And that she's been using the interventions and the strategies she's working through my program. And that heavy feeling was not there. So huge celebration. Sometimes it's a little different. Sometimes we're seeing that we're not running from ourselves as much. Sometimes we're seeing that, wow, I stood beside myself. I usually cave. I usually start fawning there, but I actually was pretty assertive. Or at least I was grounded. I didn't run off like I usually do. That's fun because they start popping off all the time. You see your brain's building new programming right in front of your eyes. That's great. That's fun. And you're like, wow, what else can you do? And you start playing these games with your brain. I bet we could resolve this. And then you watch it resolve. And I bet we could resolve this, and you watch it resolve. And yes, along the way things happen. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't, it's so hard. And then we're processing that, and that's part of the healing too. Once your processor is running, everything is part of the healing. And that's good because it's like you don't have to be perfect. We do have to help the processor process. If we're processing, is it processing? We're not getting it. You're messing up and you're just messing up. But over here, if you're messing up with your processor running, your brain is like, oh, look at us mess up. We should fix that. Yes, go ahead and do that, please. So this can be hard work. And there's some hacks around that to make it shorter, hard work. and more emotionally mature work, right? So that we have the maturity to stand beside ourselves as we go through this stuff, as we lose our patience with ourselves, as we lose our endurance, and we have to go lay down or isolate or maybe even dissociate for a little bit, that we can support our mind body system in that processing and know that we're getting more and more healing, even though I know what it looks like now, right? Even though I've couched or dissociated, I know I'm still healing. And so those are some really great and fun places to stand in this healing journey. And I just want to, it really does feel hard sometimes. And it is. So I have no transition from that. So, but I do just want to encourage you to play with your brain and give it the support that it needs and watch it support you. I know that you might not even be able to imagine that these symptoms you'll be laughing at them a year from now, 2 years from now, but it's real. There's things I used to do that sometimes I'll have clients come in and they're doing that thing, and I was like, oh yeah, I used to do that. Oh, I know exactly that, and I'll just have forgotten it because it's just been so long. And then I see it and I'm like, oh yeah. So it really gets better. We really overcome these things. We can really do wonderful in relationships, even if right now maybe you're freezing, maybe you're avoiding conversations or conflict, maybe you're avoiding triggers like driving or that place, or I get it, and we can heal. Our brains are designed for this, and it just needs the right kind of support. We need to work with the right parts of the brain at the right time. And that's really a lot of the healing dance. I want you to get so good at the healing dance. Your brain it has all the intelligence. It knows how to sort the stuff and rebuild, but it really does need help with the healing dance. It's just designed to need support. And so I want you equipped with that. I want you to have those skills. I want you to have greater and greater and greater skills with that, and more advanced skills, and to be healthy and well and pass those skills to your children and your friends and your family. And yeah, so I'm cheering for you. I know what it looks like now, and it's okay. Get that processor running. Okay, so I have a comment that I'm going to read. Oh, Kim Cabrera says, very interesting. Thanks for sharing. You're welcome. I think this stuff's really fascinating and interesting. And I I have a lot of respect for it because even it's all fun and games until it's you, right? Until you have to go through the stressors and watch your mind body system swirl. And, I get triggered too. Life happens. I recently had an event at a call back for a screening, a health screening, because the first one showed some stuff, and I had it was very triggering, actually, and flashbacks of high school health class of all things, and learning about some human behaviors in health class, that really was traumatic. And so I had to work through that with this and then get to a place. It was all good. It's all good. The screening was great. It's a technician error. And, but it gave me the opportunity to be in that space. And really it was about supporting the brain, because it really showed me where my security, like I had some more work to do. So it's nice to know this stuff, because we never stop having a brain, and brains need support, and that they will always need support. The healthier your system is, the more support you're naturally getting all the time, and so you don't have to consciously think about getting support. But when you come from a history of complex PTSD, we have that for such a long period of time because we didn't get enough support, and we didn't get the right kind of support. So there's always a support gap. And so now we have the opportunity to really support the brain very intentionally, and it's just great to do that. And we get to do that, and we get to still have health and wellness, even though, and we'll watch our support system get healthier and healthier and healthier as our brain keeps processing, because it'll be like, why do we have this kind of support, and why don't we have this kind of support? And then it starts making changes, and next thing you know, you've kind of cut that one out and you've got brought more of this one in. That's good brain stuff. So Oh, Kim asks, will this help with OCD and driving anxiety and agoraphobia? Absolutely. I This is wonderful for OCD. This is the foundational mind body system work for resolving OCD. So OCD resolves really, really nicely. That was my diagnosis, and I sure was good at OCD. And this is how I got free of that and broke through it. So and quickly, which is lovely. But driving anxiety and agoraphobia. The thing about those three things is I have never seen them without an underlying complex PTSD diagnosis. So yes. so uh, I think it's foundational. I don't think we do well with resolving OCD because I don't think we treat it deeply enough in the nervous system and the mind body system. So if we do that, then we get health and wellness and results. So we're learning. And speaking of which, I am starting a small group for coaching program for OCD recovery, and so that's going to be coming up here soon in March. And so if anybody wants to join me with that, it's a very small group. There's only going to be 5 people in there, and we're going to go about resolving symptoms of OCD together. All right. Wonderful connecting with you all. Happy healing. I wish you fun healing and really efficient because we don't want to drag this out. Let's do it. Okay. Take care. Bye.